Across the centuries, the British royal family has stood as both witness and architect of history monarchs, whose decisions have shaped nations, empires, and the very fabric of society. Behind the glittering crowns, grand palaces, and ceremonial splendor lies a story of survival, strategy, and human drama. From tumultuous successions and political upheavals, to secret alliances, romances, and betrayals, the monarchy has navigated storms that would have toppled lesser dynasties. Every marriage, every treaty, and every public gesture was a calculated move in a game of influence that stretched across continents and generations. Their resilience is not merely legendite, it is a testament to the intricate balance of power, diplomacy, and tradition. The story of the British royal family begins not in opulent palaces but in shadowed halls, fortified castles, and turbulent kingdoms, where survival demanded both cunning and courage. From the earliest monarchs, the crown was not merely a symbol of authority, it was a living institution, shaped as much by diplomacy and strategy as by bloodlines. Every king or queen inherited not just a title but a web of responsibilities. The loyalty of nobles, the obedience of subjects, and the approval of powerful clergy. These invisible threads formed the backbone of monarchy, binding rulers to their people while simultaneously granting them unmatched influence. In the early medieval courts, hierarchy was absolute, and every gesture, every word carried weight. Monarchs learned quickly that power was rarely won in battle alone. It required subtle negotiation, alliances, and often patient manipulation. The positioning of advisors at court, the allocation of titles, and the careful orchestration of public appearances were all integral to projecting authority. A monarch who mastered these subtleties could extend influence far beyond borders, while those who ignored them faced rebellion, exile, or even death. Political engagement existed in quiet chambers, far from the public eye. Early kings and queens exercised what historians now call soft power, guiding generals, influencing treaties, and shaping ministers without issuing overt commands. Royal marriages became strategic tools for consolidating power or forging alliances, while minor gestures, like the timing of court appearances or the hosting of feasts, communicated dominance or favor to allies and rivals alike. Those who underestimated the importance of these subtleties often destabilized kingdoms that would have otherwise endured. The Church played an equally pivotal role. Divine right was not mere rhetoric. It reinforced monarchs' legitimacy while binding subjects morally and spiritually to their sovereign. Religious ceremonies, prayers, and coronations were carefully choreographed to reinforce the perception of sacred authority, reminding nobles and commoners alike that loyalty was both political and moral. The interplay of faith, tradition, and strategy became a cornerstone of royal influence, allowing monarchs to navigate the chaotic politics of early England with a combination of reverence and subtle intimidation. Advisors, often drawn from the most trusted noble families, became extensions of royal will. Their counsel went beyond administration. It informed strategy, diplomacy, and even moral judgment. These counselors understood the invisible rules of courtly life, the hidden alliances, the delicate hierarchies, and the unspoken codes of conduct that ensured the monarchy's survival. Monarchs who ignored their guidance risked alienation, misjudgment, or insurrection. Those who mastered it could extend their influence not only over their subjects, but over entire regions and, eventually, continents. Even in moments of conflict, whether civil war, foreign invasion, or succession crises, the monarchy's strength lay in its understanding of human behavior and perception. Kings and queens learned that appearances mattered. A smile at the right moment could win loyalty. A carefully worded proclamation could pacify unrest. And a strategic absence could project power beyond one's physical presence. The ability to manipulate perception became as vital as the ability to command armies. Over centuries, the foundations of this invisible power evolved, but never disappeared. Medieval monarchs transformed into constitutional figures. Yet the principles of influence, subtle negotiation, and strategic projection of authority endured. The monarchy adapted to parliaments, colonial expansion, and global diplomacy while preserving the essence of its ancient strength. A careful balance of tradition, counsel, and public perception. The early centuries of the British monarchy established lessons that would echo for generations. Every court intrigue, every political alliance, and every ceremonial display reinforced the central idea that true power often lies not in what is openly commanded, but in what is quietly guided, unseen yet profoundly felt. It was in these foundations' shadowed halls, whispered strategies, and sacred rituals that the British royal family built the enduring legacy that continues to define them today. As England emerged from the chaos of early medieval power struggles, the monarchy began to consolidate authority, navigating a world where loyalty was fleeting and ambition often lethal. Kings and queens realized that survival depended not only on military might but also on strategic alliances through marriage, diplomacy, and careful manipulation of noble factions. The dynastic union of families could create powerful blocs, while rivalries left kingdoms vulnerable to rebellion or invasion. Each decision was a calculated risk, and every courtier became both a potential ally and a possible threat. Royal education was rigorous, designed to produce sovereigns capable of mastering both sword and statecraft. Young princes and princesses were trained in languages, history, law, and diplomacy, as well as in the martial arts of the day. They observed the intricate dance of court life, where gestures, seating arrangements, and even the timing of a bow could convey allegiance, respect, or disdain. Monarchs learned early that perception often outweighed reality. A kingdom could remain stable if the ruler appeared confident and commanding, even when the balance of power was fragile. During the medieval period, the monarchy's power expanded not only through internal consolidation but also via overseas influence. The early English crown began to assert control over Ireland, parts of Wales, and eventually ventured into continental Europe. Monarchs wielded both hard and soft power. Armies enforced authority, while strategic marriages, patronage, and promises of protection fostered loyalty and minimized resistance. Diplomacy was as crucial as warfare. Envoys' letters and ceremonial exchanges maintained fragile alliances and prevented conflicts that could weaken the crown. Court life was a study in subtle hierarchy. Every title, appointment, and favor carried political weight. Advisors, often drawn from the nobility, operated with meticulous discretion, understanding that any misstep could destabilize the monarchy. These counselors became both confidants and gatekeepers, filtering information and shaping the decisions of the sovereign. Monarchs who mastered the art of listening, discerning motives, and interpreting loyalty could maintain long-lasting stability. Those who relied solely on force often faced civil strife or deposition. Religion remained a cornerstone of royal authority. Monarchs invoked divine right to legitimize their rule, strengthen claims to the throne, and bind subjects' loyalty. Coronations, religious ceremonies, and royal patronage of the church were more than rituals, they were instruments of influence. Clergy provided moral justification for political decisions, reinforced the hierarchy of power, and often mediated between monarchs and rebellious nobles. A ruler's relationship with the church could make the difference between consolidation and collapse. Personal lives of monarchs were equally entangled with politics. Marriages were rarely based on affection. They were calculated moves to secure alliances, claim territories, or prevent wars. Children were both heirs and pawns in a delicate game of succession, with every birth, death, and marriage altering the balance of power. Rivalries within the family could erupt into crises, forcing monarchs to navigate a minefield of ambition, jealousy, and loyalty. The personal and political were inseparable, and the survival of the dynasty often depended on managing both with equal skill. The Tudor period exemplified the intricate balance of influence, fear, and diplomacy. Kings and queens exercised authority through both charisma and calculation. They knew that displays of power from military triumphs to lavish ceremonies reinforced the crown's image, while secret negotiations and patronage networks ensured control over the nobility. Public perception was paramount. Monarchs learned to wield both fear and admiration, using spectacle, ceremony, and diplomacy to maintain supremacy. Over centuries, these lessons allowed the British monarchy to transform from a fragile institution vulnerable to internal strife into a resilient dynasty capable of navigating war, political upheaval, and global expansion. By mastering alliances, controlling perception, and balancing the interests of nobles, clergy, and the people. The monarchy laid the foundation for an enduring empire. Each generation built upon the strategies, lessons, and traditions of their predecessors, creating a legacy that would withstand centuries of change. This period demonstrated that the crown's true strength was not measured solely by armies or wealth, but by strategic insight, patience, and the ability to manipulate both human behavior and perception. Every alliance forged, every rebellion quelled, and every ceremony performed contributed to a system of governance that allowed the monarchy to endure, expand, and eventually influence the world far beyond Britain's shores. By the 17th and 18th centuries, the British monarchy had evolved from a fragile European power into the centerpiece of a burgeoning global empire. Monarchs understood that survival no longer relied solely on domestic alliances. The seas, trade, and colonies became the new arenas for influence and power. Naval supremacy emerged as the key to protecting interests overseas, while strategic marriages and diplomatic agreements reinforced Britain's position in European politics. Every decision, whether on taxation, trade, or war, was calculated to strengthen the crown's reach and the nation's dominance. The personal lives of monarchs remained deeply entwined with politics. Queens like Anne and consorts of kings served as diplomatic instruments, hosting foreign envoys and nurturing alliances through social and ceremonial means. Every court gathering was an opportunity to reinforce loyalty, demonstrate wealth, or subtly influence decisions. Monarchs relied heavily on advisors, ministers, and secretaries who acted as both strategists and confidants, ensuring that decisions aligned with the dual goals of domestic stability and international expansion. Colonial ventures, particularly in North America, the Caribbean, and India, were both opportunities and challenges. Monarchs granted charters, oversaw trade monopolies, and authorized military campaigns, all while balancing the demands of Parliament and the growing influence of merchants. Success abroad enhanced the monarchy's prestige at home, while failures could incite political crises. Wars, rebellions, and uprisings tested the crown's ability to govern far-flung territories and maintain loyalty among local populations. The monarchy also mastered the art of symbolism and ceremonial power. Royal proclamations, grandiose ceremonies, and portraits were designed to communicate authority, continuity, and divine favor. Monarchs understood that perception shaped reality. A powerful image could command obedience as effectively as armies, while careful management of public sentiment ensured loyalty and minimized dissent. Even in the most turbulent periods, the crown maintained an aura of unassailable legitimacy. Religion continued to be a cornerstone of influence. Monarchs wielded spiritual authority not only to consolidate domestic power but also to justify expansion overseas. Missionary activity and the spread of Anglicanism became intertwined with governance, reinforcing the crown's moral and political authority. Monarchs used religious patronage and ceremonies to signal stability, continuity, and divine sanction, both at home and in their colonies. Economic strategies were equally important. Monarchs promoted trade, encouraged investment, and leveraged colonial resources to enrich the crown and the nation. Wealth from overseas allowed the monarchy to fund armies, maintain palaces, and sponsor culture, reinforcing the image of enduring power. Advisors and ministers were crucial in translating global developments into policies that preserved both the empire and the monarchy. The personal and political were inseparable. Heirs were carefully educated and positioned to inherit not just a throne, but the responsibility of managing a global network of territories, alliances, and obligations. Marriages, births, and alliances were meticulously arranged to strengthen ties across Europe and beyond. Family dynamics could determine political stability, with rival claims to the throne occasionally sparking crises that tested both skill and patience. Through wars, revolutions, and treaties, the monarchy learned to navigate unprecedented global challenges. From the 7 Years' War to conflicts in India and North America, monarchs balanced military engagement, diplomatic negotiations, and domestic politics to maintain both power and prestige. They understood that empire demanded constant attention, vigilance, and the ability to adapt to new challenges, while maintaining the symbolic authority of the crown. By the end of this era, the British monarchy had cemented itself as the central institution of a global empire. Its influence extended across continents, blending diplomacy, military strength, and cultural authority. Monarchs had mastered the delicate interplay between perception and power, domestic loyalty and foreign influence, tradition and innovation. This mastery ensured not only the survival of the dynasty but also the enduring legacy of Britain as a dominant global force. As the 18th century gave way to the 19th, the British monarchy faced an entirely new challenge, navigating the shifting political landscape at home. The rise of parliamentary democracy, industrialization, and a rapidly expanding middle class meant that monarchs could no longer rely solely on tradition, wealth, or military power to maintain influence. The monarchy had to adapt, finding ways to preserve authority while embracing a constitutional framework that increasingly limited its direct political role. Monarchs of this period, including George III and Victoria, became masters of symbolic power. While their political authority was constrained by Parliament, they exerted influence through moral leadership, public appearances, and careful guidance of ministers. Weekly audiences with prime ministers continued, serving as forums for counsel, perspective, and subtle negotiation, even as laws and reforms increasingly limited the crown's direct involvement. These private interactions allowed monarchs to shape the direction of the nation without breaching constitutional limits. The Victorian era epitomized this balance between tradition and modernity. Queen Victoria, in particular, became a symbol of national stability, morality, and cultural identity. Her image, carefully cultivated through portraits, ceremonies, and public engagements, reinforced the monarchy's role as a unifying force. Meanwhile, her numerous children and their strategic marriages across Europe cemented Britain's diplomatic influence while reinforcing the perception of the monarchy as a global power. The personal lives of royals were inextricably linked to international politics, demonstrating how family and state were intertwined. Political reform, including the Reform Acts of 1832, 1867, and 1884, expanded suffrage and shifted power toward elected representatives. Monarchs could no longer dictate legislation, yet their approval, ceremonial presence, and moral authority remained influential. They learned to act as mediators, symbols of continuity, and moral arbiters during periods of social and political upheaval. The monarchy became the embodiment of national unity, providing stability amidst rapid societal change. Industrialization and urbanization created new audiences for the monarchy. With newspapers, journals, and later photography, the public could witness royal ceremonies, tours, and charitable works. Monarchs leveraged these tools to maintain relevance, crafting a narrative of accessibility and benevolence. Public engagement was no longer merely ceremonial. It became a strategic instrument for shaping opinion and reinforcing loyalty across classes and regions. Religion continued to underpin the monarchy's authority. The Church of England served as both a moral guide and a stabilizing institution. Coronations, church services, and patronage of religious causes reinforced the crown's moral legitimacy, while subtly reminding citizens that monarchy was divinely sanctioned. Religious observances and royal rituals became tools of social cohesion, reinforcing loyalty through tradition, symbolism, and shared cultural identity. The monarchy's internal household also evolved to meet these modern challenges. Advisors, secretaries, and courtiers became professionalized, managing communications, engagements, and public perception. With precision, the royal household acted as both a shield and amplifier, ensuring that the monarch's image remained consistent while providing discreet counsel. Behind the scenes, these individuals played a vital role in maintaining continuity, stability, and discretion during times of political or social tension. Internationally, Britain's monarchy continued to serve as a diplomatic tool. Strategic marriages, ceremonial diplomacy, and patronage of arts and sciences enhanced prestige abroad. Monarchs communicated stability, continuity, and national identity, projecting soft power even when their direct political influence waned. This duality, public symbolic authority, paired with subtle private influence, defined monarchies. Adaptation to modernity. By the late 19th century, The British monarchy had successfully transitioned from absolute power to a constitutional and symbolic institution. It remained central to national identity while embracing evolving democratic principles. Monarchs balanced tradition and innovation, navigating industrial, political, and social transformations with skill and foresight. Their influence persisted not through legislation or direct command, but through perception, moral authority, and the careful stewardship of tradition and image. The modern monarchy emerged from this period as both a stabilizing force and a unifying symbol. By adapting to constitutional limits while maintaining ceremony, culture, and diplomacy, it ensured relevance in an era of rapid change. Monarchs demonstrated that enduring power relied not only on force or wealth, but on the mastery of perception, continuity, and the delicate balance between private counsel and public symbolism. The 20th century thrust the British monarchy into unprecedented challenges, forcing it to adapt quickly to a world defined by global conflict, technological innovation, and mass media. The First World War tested the monarchy's resilience as European dynasties crumbled and public sentiment shifted. King George, navigating nationalist pressures, prudently changed the family name from Saxe-Coburg and Gotha to Windsor, projecting loyalty to Britain rather than to foreign dynastic ties. Symbolism became essential. Subtle gestures, uniforms, and appearances reassured a nation in turmoil. The monarchy's involvement in the war effort was both practical and symbolic. Members of the royal family visited troops, attended hospitals, and supported charitable organizations, creating a visible connection between crown and citizenry. These acts reinforced the perception that monarchy was intertwined with national identity and morale, a stabilizing anchor in times of uncertainty. Media coverage of these activities began to shape public perception, demonstrating for the first time that royal influence extended through modern communication channels, as well as personal presence. The interwar period brought political upheaval and societal transformation. The monarchy faced scrutiny from newly empowered labor movements, growing socialist sentiments, and calls for social reform. Prime ministers and monarchs collaborated discreetly to navigate tensions, ensuring that the crown retained relevance without appearing partisan. The subtle diplomacy that had long defined royal governance became more visible yet no less crucial. Monarchs learned that appearances, public perception, and moral authority were as powerful as formal, constitutional mechanisms. World War II intensified the monarchy's role as a symbol of unity. King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, embodied resilience, frequently touring bombed cities, speaking to the public via radio broadcasts, and attending frontline hospitals. These acts reinforced loyalty and morale, showing a monarchy deeply engaged with its people. The rise of radio and newsreels allowed the crown's image to reach millions, transforming the monarchy into a modern institution capable of both ceremonial and practical influence. Post-war Britain faced economic challenges, decolonization, and the diminishing reach of empire. The monarchy adapted, embracing constitutional limitations while maintaining symbolic and diplomatic authority. Royal tours abroad strengthened diplomatic ties with newly independent nations and reinforced Britain's soft power. Members of the royal family acted as cultural ambassadors, using personal charisma, ceremony, and protocol to preserve Britain's global prestige, even as direct political control declined. Television introduced a new era of public scrutiny, the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. Broadcast live became a defining moment, transforming the monarchy into a modern spectacle while reinforcing its historical continuity. Public access to royal life through media required careful management. Private matters could now affect public perception, making discretion and image management essential tools for maintaining authority and legitimacy. Social change also tested royal traditions. Marriage, personal conduct, and family dynamics became public concerns. The monarchy navigated scandals and personal challenges, learning that relevance depended not only on ceremonial display but on emotional connection and perceived integrity. By maintaining a balance of tradition and modernity, the crown remained a source of national unity, moral guidance, and cultural continuity. In essence, the 20th century showcased the monarchy's adaptability. By leveraging media, engaging directly with citizens, and reinforcing symbolic authority, The British royal family maintained influence despite reduced political power. Wars, social change, and global transformation demanded a monarchy that could evolve while embodying historical continuity, ensuring its survival in an era of unprecedented scrutiny and expectation. As the 20th century gave way to the 21st, the British monarchy confronted an era of rapid modernization, mass media scrutiny, and evolving public expectations. Queen Elizabeth II's long reign became a study in balancing tradition with the pressures of contemporary society. The monarchy faced challenges unprecedented in scale: global television coverage, tabloid sensationalism, and a public increasingly aware of and interested in the private lives of royals. Every decision, public appearance, or statement was scrutinized, making adaptability as crucial as lineage. Television, and later digital media, transformed how the monarchy interacted with its subjects. Royal tours became global events, not merely domestic ceremonies, showcasing Britain's soft power abroad. State visits, charity engagements, and diplomatic appearances conveyed messages of unity, stability, and continuity. Even minor gestures, such as attending local events or interacting with citizens, were broadcast worldwide, highlighting the monarchy's symbolic influence in shaping public sentiment and international perception. Personal relationships within the royal family increasingly affected public perception. Marriages, divorces, and scandals could shift public sentiment almost instantly, forcing the crown to reconcile private realities with public expectations. The monarchy learned to engage more directly, offering measured communication through press releases, interviews, and public addresses. Queen Elizabeth II's steady presence provided continuity, but younger royals, including Princes Charles, William, and Harry, began embodying a more personal, relatable side of monarchy, reflecting society's demand for accessibility alongside authority. Constitutionally, the monarchy maintained its traditional neutrality while remaining an active participant in public life. Ceremonial roles, patronages, and speeches allowed the crown to shape national identity, without engaging in politics directly. This balance became increasingly delicate as global events, domestic crises, and social movements placed the monarchy under pressure to respond meaningfully without compromising neutrality. Symbolism carefully curated appearances, commemorations, and speeches was wielded as a powerful tool to unite the nation, soothe anxieties, and maintain the legitimacy of the institution. The monarchy also had to navigate the legacies of empire and the evolving role of Britain on the global stage. As former colonies gained independence, the crown embraced symbolic leadership in the Commonwealth, using diplomatic, cultural, and charitable initiatives to preserve Britain's influence without direct political authority. Royal visit speeches and advocacy reinforced Britain's presence in global affairs, demonstrating that soft power could complement and sometimes exceed the reach of political institutions. Social media and the internet introduced new complexities. The lives of younger royals became public spectacles, with every misstep or triumph magnified instantly. Yet, these platforms also allowed the monarchy to connect with audiences directly, offering curated narratives and personal engagement. The crown evolved into a hybrid institution, blending centuries-old traditions with the demands of real-time global communication, ensuring relevance in a rapidly changing cultural landscape. Even amidst challenges, the monarchy continued to serve as a stabilizing force. During national tragedies, such as terrorist attacks or natural disasters, members of the royal family appeared at memorials, offered solace, and addressed the public with empathy, reinforcing their role as symbolic anchors. By combining ceremony, empathy, and visibility, the monarchy strengthened its connection with citizens while adapting to modern expectations. The 21st century showcased a monarchy that had mastered the art of resilience. Through modernization, media management, and public engagement, the British royal family preserved its symbolic authority, navigated scandals and societal change, and maintained global relevance. In doing so, it demonstrated that the endurance of the monarchy relied not solely on lineage, but on the ability to evolve, adapt, and resonate with the hearts and minds of its people. As the 21st century progressed, the British monarchy faced a new set of challenges that tested its relevance, resilience, and adaptability. The institution, steeped in centuries of tradition, found itself navigating an era defined by transparency, social media scrutiny, and the democratization of public opinion. Every royal engagement, personal relationship, and statement was now magnified globally, placing unprecedented pressure on the monarchy to maintain its dignity while appearing relatable. The personal lives of younger royals became central to public discourse. Marriages, divorces, and scandals no longer remained private. They were dissected in tabloids, broadcasts on television, and debated across social media. Prince Charles's decades-long courtship of Camilla Parker Bowles, Princess Diana's public struggles, and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, as controversial decisions to step back from royal duties, illustrated the tension between personal freedom and public expectation. Each event tested the monarchy's ability to balance tradition with empathy, authority with vulnerability. Media management became a strategic necessity. The monarchy embraced controlled communication, using official statements, public addresses, and social media to present a curated narrative while preserving the mystique of the crown. These efforts allowed the institution to maintain credibility, manage public perception, and prevent crises from spiraling out of control. Royal appearances at state events, charity functions, and cultural ceremonies reinforced continuity, ensuring the monarchy remained a central pillar of national identity despite shifting societal norms. Global diplomacy remained a crucial function. As Britain's direct political influence waned, the monarchy's symbolic leadership within the Commonwealth and international circles gained prominence. Royal tours, patronages, and advocacy projects helped sustain diplomatic ties, promote humanitarian causes, and project Britain's soft power. The Crown's ability to transcend politics enabled it to act as a unifying figure, both domestically and internationally, maintaining respect across diverse populations. The monarchy also confronted issues of succession, transparency, and modern relevance. Younger generations of royals, particularly Prince William and Prince George, were positioned as heirs to a future where public scrutiny and global attention would be even more intense. Their training, public appearances, and engagement with charitable and environmental causes reflected a conscious effort to adapt the monarchy to contemporary expectations, while preserving core traditions. During national crises, the monarchy reaffirmed its role as a stabilizing force. From natural disasters to terrorist attacks and public mourning, royal responses were crafted to provide comfort, unity, and reassurance. The symbolic power of the crown, when exercised with tact and empathy, reinforced its enduring value, proving that while laws and constitutions defined authority, public trust and perception defined influence. The contemporary monarchy illustrates an institution that has survived millennia by balancing secrecy and visibility, tradition and innovation, personal sacrifice and public service. Its ability to evolve without losing legitimacy demonstrates that royal power is not merely inherited. It is maintained through careful navigation of politics, media, diplomacy, and societal change. Even as modern challenges continue to emerge, the British royal family's legacy remains intact, a testament to resilience, adaptability, and the enduring allure of monarchy in a rapidly evolving world. The story of the British royal family is not merely a chronicle of rulers, coronations, or political maneuvering. It is a narrative of endurance, adaptation, and symbolic power. Over centuries, the monarchy has weathered revolutions, wars, scandals, and societal transformation, yet it has consistently emerged as a stabilizing force in the United Kingdom and across the globe. Each monarch contributed uniquely to this legacy. From the consolidation of royal authority in the medieval era to the soft power exercised in the modern constitutional monarchy, the crown has balanced visibility with discretion, public duty with private counsel, the careful cultivation of alliances, patronage networks, and international relationships allowed Britain to wield influence far beyond its borders, establishing an empire and, later, a cultural footprint that endures in the Commonwealth and worldwide. The modern monarchy continues to adapt, learning from history while embracing change. Younger royals understand that relevance now requires transparency, empathy, and public engagement alongside adherence to centuries-old traditions. Their charitable work, advocacy for social causes, and diplomatic roles ensure that the monarchy resonates with contemporary society while maintaining the ceremonial and symbolic gravitas that has long defined it. In conclusion, the British royal family exemplifies the art of survival in a world of constant change. Its enduring influence arises not solely from wealth, military might, or political authority, but from mastery of perception, tradition, and human connection. Through the careful navigation of crises, personal challenges, and global transformations, the monarchy has remained a pillar of national identity and international diplomacy. The legacy of these legendary kings and queens is woven into the fabric of British history, a testament to resilience, subtle power, and the timeless allure of the crown. Even as the world evolves, the monarchy's symbolic authority, cultural significance, and enduring capacity to unify a nation continue to define its unparalleled role in history.